Hello, my name is Walla. I am the CEO of Strategies and one of your co-hosts for this brand new podcast, Reinventing Africa.
Hello, my name is Baba Dodo, and I'm a senior consultant at Strategies and also a co-host of this new podcast, Reinventing Africa. So, Kah, why Reinventing Africa?
Reinventing Africa, we didn't make it up. We didn't invent it. We stole it. We stole it from one of Africa's greatest thinkers, Thomas Sankara. One of his most famous sayings is when he said, "We must be mad enough, we must be crazy enough to dare to invent the future of Africa."
I probably prefer the word inspired. We got inspired instead of storm, because he might probably be very proud of us, seeing Africans that are actually walking on his footsteps. Why? Just because when he said that, he was meaning to build a future of Africa with other people, with his people. So for us also, I think it's important because we kind of break away from the gloomy future to which the political and economic situation of that time had condemned us, the African people. So with this, our intention with you, our audience, with our guests, to build a future of Africa which is based on a new way of thinking and practicing governance.
When we say Reinventing Africa, we are going to be building on a concept that we have developed together at Strategies, which is the functional state in Africa. We came up with this idea at Strategies when we hit our 25-year anniversary, and we really sat down to do some deep thinking about what have we learned over the last 25 years and what can we, as a firm that has been working with government, with grassroots organizations, with private sector, at the local level, at the global level, what can we actually contribute to the invention of Africa for the next 25 years? What can we contribute? We've learned that the functionality of the state is central and is essential to anything we can imagine as development for Africa. And today, that functionality is not a key part of many development strategies, some which are put in place by African countries themselves, many which are put in place by development partners. We do not see strengthening the state, strengthening the functionality of the state as a key element. So that is what we're going to be developing throughout this podcast. That is what we're going to discuss around. We'll tell people about the concept and we'll see how it can be implemented on the ground.
Exactly. So we are going to collectively develop and put in place the concept of functional state with our guests and with the audience. But we will be doing that on the base of an assumption. We assume that with the functional states, African states are able to solve the global problem of poverty and its consequences within a period, let's be ambitious, very ambitious, within a period of 1 or 2 decades.
Oof, Baba. When you say 1 or 2 decades, I have two emotions. On the one side, I feel anxiety because, of course, Africa has been dealing with its problem of poverty for many decades, I would say, at least since independence and before then even. But on the other side, I agree with you 100% because what we were looking for as we reflected on our legacy projects at 25-year mark was what will enable us to make the platter meet, what will enable us to reinvent Africa rapidly, such that we don't have time. We cannot take another 50, 60 years to get water, to get electricity, to get education to young Africans. We have to make progress, within 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So, yes, and I am anxious, and we will use that anxiety to fuel our energy and to make sure that we actually get to solutions that can be implemented within the next 20 years.
Exactly. We're going to build on to be discussing this with that energy, with that ambition, with our guests, those practitioners, those lecturers, those decision makers with whom we've been working for the past 20 years. We will be inviting them to discuss this during our episodes.
We will have a new episode out once every 2 weeks, 45 to 60-minute discussion. And we are going to go through the concept of functional state, not just as a concept, but in practice, because the good thing is that Africans right now, as we speak, are building functional states. So we're going to understand the idea, but also go to those who are practicing it. Yes, Baba, so the functional state, the idea that we'll be discussing, the functional state has 3 key pillars.
Exactly. The first one is presence.
Absolutely.
Can you say something about the presence?
Absolutely. The presence of the state. Today in Africa, many citizens live without the presence of the state. From simple administrative services such as having a birth certificate, having a national ID card, to social services, water, electricity, healthcare, education, many citizens do not feel the presence of the state. And many states are not fully present throughout their national territory.
The second pillar, which is safety and sustainability.
Safety on the one hand, and we see safety here as the element of where a citizen feels completely at ease in their country. So it means that the justice system is working. It means that that citizen is enjoying all of their fundamental human rights. They have the right to talk, they have the right to travel, they have the right to a home, to a job, and so on. It also means for the sustainability that citizen collectives are working, trade unions, associations, media, and so on. All of those groups that ensure citizens' rights in the long term, whether there's a government here today, tomorrow, or the next day, all of these groups are functioning. That's what we mean by safety and sustainability.
Yes, and now the last one, which is the third pillar, hope.
This is somehow maybe my favorite pillar. I don't know. All the pillars are important, but even if we give people water and electricity and fundamentals, if we do not give them hope, if Africans don't see potential in their lives for tomorrow, next week, next month, and next year, we will continue to see what we are seeing today, which is young Africans, the very energy of our continent, the competence of our continent, the workforce of our continent, which is getting on a boat to cross the Mediterranean because we have not been able to give that young person hope in our African countries. We see them going on the desert, taking all kinds of risks because we have not been able to give them hope. Hope is about the economy. Hope is about how we are managing climate. Hope is about art and culture and music. These are the pillars of the functional state, and this is what we are talking about when we say in this podcast, we will be looking at how practically to build functional states in Africa.
Thank you, Kah. So, dear listeners, we've already shared with you some elements, some key content of the menu of this podcast. We hope that you are also enjoying it as we introduce it to you. We will be discussing this with you because you have the possibility to share your comments, to ask questions, and even suggest topics and guests that we will invite here to discuss and reinvent Africa together.
We will speak most of the time in English, but feel free to send your comments in English, in French, Baba, in Spanish, in Portuguese, in Swahili, at least the 5 African official languages. Please feel free to send.
Even in German.
Send, yes, even in German. Because Baba speaks German. But feel free to send in your comments in whatever language. And we will be, from time to time, having a guest that speaks French or perhaps another language.
Yes. So we will be posting twice a month. Catch us on our various platforms, on Spotify, on Apple Podcast, on Google Podcast, and other platforms.
And please do subscribe to our podcast channel. Down in the comments below, you will find, in the description, you will find all of the links that you need. And turn on your notifications so that you know when a new podcast has been posted.
Prepare for our next episode, which will be on the first pillar of our functional state: don't come alone. Invite your friends, share the links so that at your own level, it becomes a conversation. It is a collective reflection. We are going to reinvent Africa together. So, see you soon.